Alright, so this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is Armed NYC Migrant Gang Members Just Got Arrested and Deported. Guys, this comes from the channel NYC Uncovered, and if you guys do like this type of content, make sure you guys go ahead and check out that channel. It'll be linked in the description. Alright? Let's go and jump into it.
Venezuelan migrant gang could join, and brutal Venezuelan migrant gang could join forces in New York City.
New York City saw the reality of that warning when a crime wave almost took control of the city. Now they are battling it head-on. Criminal gangs, made up of migrants, are taking over the city, and law enforcement is pushing back. Migrant gang members are being rounded up and arrested, and the city is taking a firm stance on crime. ICE agents arrested this group of migrant squatters after discovering guns and drugs in their possession. The Bronx neighborhood was thrown into a state of fear when a group of migrant squatters from Venezuela caused chaos and disruption.
Guys, I'm just glad that they're finally doing something about any type of crime in Manhattan, guys, because for some reason they just have been ignoring all types of overall petty theft along with burglaries, guys. They've just been ignoring it. They get arrested, they get released, or some priest will come in and basically, bail them out so they can go back in again. Guys, I'm just glad they're trying to do something finally.
Venezuela caused chaos and disruption. Despite being apprehended by federal authorities, they were released due to overcrowded processing centers, allowing them to continue their disruptive behavior on the bustling streets of the Big Apple. This left residents shaken and the landlord fearing for his safety. 4 members of the group, USC Pino Castillo, Yohairo Martinez, Javier Alborno, and Yerbin Lozado Munoz, were initially detained between September 2022 and May 2023. However, they were eventually released due to the chaotic overcrowding situation at the Laredo Sector Enhanced Centralized Processing Center in Laredo, Texas, and the Central Processing Center in El Paso. Meanwhile, Johan Cardenas Silva, who had been ordered to be deported, was also released 7 months later from the Stewart County Detention Center under an order of supervision. However, all 5 individuals decided to skip their processing appointments and instead gathered at a house on Hull Avenue in the Bronx, where neighbors...
Are you living like this, guys? Come on.
...suspected they were running a drug-dealing operation. And that's when things took a turn for the
worse. Look at that.
During their time on the streets, some of the migrants engaged in various criminal activities, including crimes such as criminal possession of loaded firearms, burglary, and even attempting to take people's lives. They even used delivery systems to send drugs to their buyers. It's worth noting that Hector de Souza Villalta, who entered the country illegally through Texas, was arrested for first degree with a weapon and attempting to take someone's life. However, the charges were eventually dropped due to lack of evidence from the accuser. Despite the district attorney's plea for a bond of almost $500,000, de Souza Villalta was released in Bronx criminal court, much to the dismay of the community. He was known as the leader of the gun-wielding migrant squatter drug ring, according to neighbors and the apartment landlord. In fact, it was his brandishing of a 9mm CZ pistol that triggered the NYPD raid on March 27th. As the police made their way into the residence, an unexpected discovery awaited them: 4 firearms and numerous bags of illegal substances. Charges were promptly filed against all the migrant residents, but to everyone's surprise, they were later released without having to pay bail.
Bro, that's not surprising me at all, unfortunately, bro. Like, if you really want to stop this from happening, you guys have to change how you're voting up there, bro. You have to. I think it's mandatory, okay? Anyone who is saying that it is okay for these people to do these things and then just get instantly released, bro, come on. Work on how you're voting.
However, the media frenzy surrounding the raid caught the attention of ICE officers, who decided to storm the apartment building once again. This time, they managed to apprehend Castillo, Martinez, and de Souza Villalta, who had allegedly returned to the property after their initial release. While law enforcement is still on the hunt for an unidentified squatter, the landlord of the Bronx property is living in fear for his safety, unsure of what this mysterious individual might do. These criminals are believed to be associated with a transnational group known as Tren de Aragua. The city is grappling with significant
that doesn't surprise me.
Challenges caused by the presence of gang members, resulting in a surge in criminal activities.
A gang of recent migrants from Venezuela terrorized New Yorkers, robbing them violently and then hacking their phones to drain bank accounts of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Numerous New Yorkers have fallen victim to theft committed by migrants riding mopeds and scooters. Here's how their operation typically unfolds. 2 individuals ride on the back, with one focusing on snatching the belongings of unsuspecting New Yorkers, while the other concentrates on making a swift getaway. This is where it gets worse. They don't discriminate when it comes to stealing. Purses, wallets, jewelry, and most notably, phones. The reason behind their obsession with phones is simple. They can gain access to an individual's financial data and drain their accounts. It's particularly alarming because many victims are caught off guard while making phone calls. During a
Right. Okay. Oh, that's crazy. So, let's say you're standing on the side of the street, someone walks up to you, they take your phone while you're still on the phone because your phone isn't locked. Then they go into your, oh, that's crazy. Bro, all they have to do is really make it so your phone doesn't lock again. And then they can connect it up and then have access through most likely some like backdoor software or something, right, into your banking applications, then transfer money. That is the wildest thing, all right? Because we're not ready for this type of thing. Listen, New York City is already wild, all right? We're used to kind of the craziness that happens there. Then when we add in the craziness that apparently is normal in other countries that's not normal here, oh my God, what do we do here, guys? Right? What do we do going forward? What do we do?
call, your phone is vulnerable, leaving all your personal information and valuable data exposed. The situation has escalated to the point where people are not only suffering severe financial losses, but also enduring physical harm due to these criminal operations. The police arrested a handful of these criminals on the 5th of February in a raid at apartment 2790 in the Bronx. The police team was accompanied by Mayor Eric Adams, and they confiscated 22 stolen phones and the identity of the ringleader of their operations, a man named Victor Parra, but he is still at large.
Bro, he pops up a lot.
Now an elite immigration team making a major bust, taking down 5 alleged migrant criminals, and they did it while working around sanctuary city policies.
In a single day, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, successfully captured 5 undocumented immigrants in the Boston region. Shockingly, 4 of them are facing allegations of committing heinous acts against children. ICE is determined to rid the streets of these unlawful criminals, as they pose a significant threat to the safety and well-being of our citizens.
As the New York Police Department has released body camera footage of the attack on 2 officers by a group of migrants in Times Square.
On the evening of January 27th, at approximately 8:30 p.m., a surveillance camera recorded a group of men engaging in what seemed to be a routine and peaceful interaction with 2 police officers. However, the situation quickly turned sour when the officers attempted to apprehend one of the men. Suddenly, the encounter became violent, starting with a forceful kick to one of the officers' heads. Out of nowhere, the situation escalated rapidly. The group of men began the officers, who were already on the ground, repeatedly punching and kicking them. Fortunately, the officers sustained only minor injuries and received immediate medical attention at the scene. 2 days later, authorities were able to apprehend 5 out of the 7 suspects involved in the incident, but shockingly, they were released without bail. Unfortunately, the story doesn't end there. Andres Gomez Izquiel, one of the individuals involved in the attack on the 2 police officers, was arrested again. He now faces charges of second degree on a police officer and obstructing governmental administration, both of which were captured on camera. Despite this, he was once again released without bail. Andres Gomez
bro, that's mandatory. That is the absolute trend.
Izquiel didn't even make it a month after being arrested before finding himself in trouble again.
Right.
This time, he was caught shoplifting and a loss prevention worker at Macy's in Queens. Alongside his accomplices, they managed to steal clothing worth $600 from the store. To make matters worse, Gomez Izquiel physically attacked the employee who tried to stop them. Thankfully, the employee only suffered minor injuries. Now, Gomez Izquiel is facing charges of petty larceny. The officers are wasting no time in sweeping the streets of these criminals.
Prosecutors say Pomales was the ringleader. He allegedly directed women to chat up men and gain their trust before robbing them.
The Grinch Boys, a notorious gang of thieves in New York City, were apprehended for preying on drunk nightclub patrons. They stole their credit cards and phones, then used the cards to buy $420,000 in high-end items. At night, they make their way into the lively nightclubs spread across the borough, targeting the wealthy and unsuspecting. The mastermind behind the scheme carefully chooses their marks. sending 2 elegantly dressed women to charm them. These women appear genuinely interested, but their motives are anything but pure.
Right.
Skillfully, they lure their targets into heavy drinking, pushing them towards intoxication.
Bro, that's why, I'm sorry to tell you this here, guys, going forward, if a nice, young, beautiful woman is sitting here flirting with you, you need to look at that oddly, because that does not happen, bro. That's not real, okay? That may not be the reality of things, all right? Beware.
And when the time is right, they swiftly swipe their credit cards and phones.
Happens in
Yet
Miami
the group
all the
wastes
time.
no time after seizing the victim's belongings. They head to upscale stores like Amiri, Lowaway, and Christian Dior in the early hours of the morning, most of which are located in the bustling Soho shopping area. During one of their trips to a 24-hour Apple store on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, they went on a shopping spree that reached an astonishing $150,000. Within just 3 hours, they splurged on the latest gadgets. Once they got their hands on the highly desired items, they quickly sold them for cash. The group arranged a deal with an individual referred to as Bumpman, as disclosed by the prosecutors. Julian Pomales, 33, also known as Juju, and Blarina Prelvukai, 30, also known as Winter, are now facing charges for various crimes, including grand larceny, conspiracy, and identity theft. Both of them have entered a plea of not guilty. But it doesn't end there.
Teenager accused of firing in Times Square, aiming at officers and hitting a Brazilian tourist.
You're looking for one male, he is your shooter. You got cops not once but twice.
Oh, this is the kid that ran to Yonkers to his mother, and then by the time the cops caught up to them, they were basically trying to escape New York. And I do personally think that if the mother was fully aware that this happened, and you brought your kid here, and you knew your kid in Venezuela had the ability to kind of do this, why would you bring him here? So it's kind of like, I'm not trying to say you're guilty, mother, right? But you should probably be removed also. You purposely brought your menacing son here, bro.
And also an innocent female one time in the leg.
In the bustling Times Square, a 15-year-old named Jesus Alejandro Rivas Figueroa found himself in a precarious situation. Alongside 2 other individuals, he was apprehended by a sharp-eyed loss prevention officer at a sporting store. The officer, suspecting foul play, asked the boys for a receipt as they clutched a bag filled with clothes and sneakers. When they couldn't produce one, the officer decided to dig deeper. To everyone's shock, Rivas Figueroa, dressed entirely in white, suddenly brandished a .45 caliber handgun and unleashed a series of towards the officer and the unsuspecting crowd.
In Times Square.
Miraculously, the officer managed to narrowly evade the bullets.
Right.
But tragically, a 37-year-old Brazilian tourist waiting patiently in line to buy sneakers was struck in the knee and suffered injuries. The store descended into chaos as panic ensued, with people frantically running and seeking shelter.
When the security guard confronted them, prompting this, watch as the teen in white walks away, then suddenly turns around, points a .45 caliber gun, and fires around.
The NYPD patrol officers at 47th Street and 7th Avenue spotted 2 teenagers who had fled from the sporting shop. In that moment, one of the individuals was apprehended by the officers. On the other hand, Figueroa managed to escape the police at 6th Avenue. However, before making his getaway, he recklessly fired at the pursuing officer. This was an extremely dangerous situation considering the densely populated area, where any of those bullets could have tragically harmed an innocent civilian.
Right.
Due to the presence of numerous people, the police officer chose not to fire back at the 15-year-old, even though he had his gun drawn. The authorities were relentless in their pursuit of him, launching a massive search across the city after he fled the subway station. In an effort to gather information on his whereabouts, a $10,000 reward was offered to the public. Rivas Figueroa had arrived in New York City last September and was last seen at the Stratford Hotel on West 70th Street, where he was staying with his mother. This was not the first time Rivas Figueroa had run into trouble in the city. He was suspected of being involved in an armed in the Bronx on January 27th, as well as an incident on January 25th at a park on 45th Street. The NYPD described Rivas Figueroa as a dangerous individual with a propensity for violence, posing a threat not only to civilians but also to law enforcement officers. Despite being only 15 years old, he was charged as an adult and was rumored to be affiliated with the Tren de Aragua gang. However, the
Mandatory.
United States has blamed Mr. Mayorkas and the Biden administration for allowing these criminals into the United States, and they want to impeach him.
Sitting cabinet secretary has been impeached by Congress.
Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of Homeland Security, now faces the prospect of a trial in the Senate. But as Doug Lozada reports from Washington this morning, the chances of him being removed from office.
After a thorough investigation and official impeachment proceedings conducted by the Homeland Security Committee, the House has made the decision to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. The accusations against Mr. Mayorkas revolve around his willful refusal to comply with the law.
Listen, I'm sure I've never heard of this guy, right? But all right, if he's the reason why, yeah, it's time to go, bro. Back it up, right? But while we're at it, let's get rid of ATF, just the entire organization. I'm gonna keep saying this, bro, and Bureau of Land Management, bro. These two organizations, the three, these two, get rid of them.
Blatantly disregarding numerous provisions of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Despite the existence of several detention mandates within the law, Mr. Mayorkas chose to release millions of inadmissible aliens into the country. He misused the statute that allows for parole on a case-by-case and temporary basis by overseeing more than 1.7 million paroles and creating categorical parole programs that go against the statute. Additionally, he instructed Immigration and Customs Enforcement personnel not to detain most illegal aliens, including criminals, in the interior. Compared to previous years, the influx of migrants is alarming, and Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas seems to allow them go into the city without much investigation. Most of these immigrants are gangsters on a mission posing to seek asylum.
And
not most, right? But all right, listen, guys, if you guys do like this type of content, make sure you guys go ahead and check out the original channel that posted this video here, NYC Uncovered, guys, right? Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to go ahead and say that every single one of the people are doing this, guys. We can't all say that and believe that, bro. Before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.